Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you for your time. My name is Mitesh from Success at School. Delighted that you're joining us tonight to hear from ACCA about pathways into accountancy. This is the right place to start your budding accountancy career. We've got George, Millie, and Nana going to be joining us tonight. George is online. He's the Early Careers Manager at ACCA, and I will let him take over from here.
Yes, thank you so much, Mitesh. Mitesh, so good afternoon or good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. I can still see there's people in the lobby and they're all being let in, so we're going to make a start. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this session entitled Pathways into Accountancy with ACCA in collaboration with Success at School. So my name is George Chunias. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner, I'm the Early Careers Manager here at ACCA, and I'm going to be your host for this evening session. And it is so great to see so many of you that have joined us, and it's a really great way that you're interacting with Success at School and webinars like this to get a broader understanding about the different pathways into accountancy and also ACCA. Now, this is the first in a 4-part series that we are running in the early careers field with ACCA. We have other sessions tomorrow, Thursday, and also on next week. And it's all about widening access to careers in accounting and finance, dispelling some myths, and really showcasing the range of opportunities available. Now, our overarching aim is to widen access to accountancy. Now, this evening, I'm really pleased to be joined by Amelia or Millie and also Nana, who will be sharing their insights as well as taking questions from you later in this session, and they will introduce themselves very shortly. So a big thank you for joining this panel. Now, first things first, some housekeeping for this session. This session is due to finish by 7:30, and you will have time for Q&A with the panel, so do keep your questions ready. Should you wish to ask questions, please pop them in the chat or use the Q&A function. Now, I have seen that some of you have talked about certificates. Don't worry, you will receive a certificate the day after this webinar, so hopefully tomorrow directly from Success at School. And in terms of using the chat, I can see it's very lively already, which is great. I just want to be really clear that it should only be used for asking questions or interacting with the session. Now, any language that is used and which is deemed offensive, rude, or unacceptable will make you become removed from the session, and potentially you will be banned from future webinars with Success at School. So that is the housekeeping for me. Before we get started, let's launch a quick poll this evening, just to get some of your initial understanding about pathways into accounting and ACCA. So if we could just launch that poll, please. I'll just wait for that poll to launch. Here we are. So the poll is, how confident do you currently feel about the different pathways to get into accountancy? So if you could just submit your vote, that would be great. So just trying to track your confidence in pathways into accountancy, because that's what the session is about today. So whilst you're doing that, we will move swiftly on. So you joined us today for pathways into accountancy, but also ACCA. Now, you might be wondering, if you haven't done your research, but you will know at the end of today who ACCA are. Now, ACCA we are the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, or ACCA for short, and we are the global professional body for those working in accounting and finance. We have members in over 180 countries. We are truly global, and we offer qualifications for accounting and finance professionals, so they are recognized globally. And for young people like yourself, if you're joining, or if you're a parent or an educator, often we, in terms of who ACCA are, you might know Edexcel or AQA because you're potentially doing your exams. If you're in GCSEs or A-level, we're a bit similar to this, But once you have our qualification, you become part of the ACCA community. Now, our qualifications are like a global professional passport that can unlock opportunities, whether you're in the UK or whether you want to go abroad. And the qualification, when you get the ACCA qualification, is equivalent to a level 7, which is master's level. Now, just a visual representation, because you will know you are joining a webinar about accounting and finance. So what do all these companies have in common? We have ACCA members working in all of these companies. So we work across all sectors, industries. Other brands are available, other football teams are available, but you can just see the breadth of opportunity that is available. So we have members working in fashion, in social media, NHS, and much, much more. Now, I did say we are global, and ACCA, it truly is a global organization. We have over 250,000 people that have completed the qualification, and over 500,000 people that are currently going through that qualification in over 180 countries. So huge opportunities there. So there is some chat saying they can't see the content. Maybe it's just for some people. So just check in, Mitesh, can you see my slides, or Nana, can you see my slides?
I can see your slides.
Yes, okay. So if some people can't see it, it might be the device. So yes. So in terms of pathways into ACCA accounting, so this session is all about pathways. As you can see from this slide, it's a very visual slide, just to show you that there is no wrong pathway into the profession. So what you can see here is, regardless of your starting point, you can be successful and make a career in accounting and finance. So whether it's through an apprenticeship, going to university to study a related degree, or study something that is actually not related to accounting, each of the pathways can you can become a chartered certified accountant and become part of the ACCA membership. You also have the ACCA foundations, which is it's a level that if you don't have many qualifications, you can actually still become qualified. Now, you might notice here that, as I said, you can take a qualification at university that's not related to accounting and finance. So we are really pleased today to have 2 people that have studied that. But if you decide you don't want to study accounting and finance and do something else at university, and then further down the line decide you would like to become ACCA qualified, there is also that option for you. And you might have seen on the slide, now, depending on your pathway with ACCA, you are able to also complete an accountancy degree program while studying for the qualification. So students are able to complete a degree in professional accountancy with the University of London on certain pathways with the ACCA qualification. So, if you don't go to university and you go down an apprenticeship, there is also that option there. And it's from the University of London, a really prestigious university with a global footprint. Now, this pathway is integrated into the ACCA qualification, and it's probably something too early for you to be considering. There is a QR code if you would like to scan and find out more, but it's just something to bear in mind if that would be of interest once you come to deciding on ACCA and next. So the main overriding message for all of you joining today is that with ACCA, there is no wrong pathway. And I can see there's lots of stuff going on in the chat, lots of questions around certificates. You will be emailed the certificate tomorrow. Now, I have done a lot of talking, and the session is about hearing of those that have done their own pathway and how they got to where they are. So I'm really, really pleased to now be getting to the panel section of this session. And I'm really pleased that Amelia, or Millie, as she likes to be known, and Nana have joined us this evening to talk about their pathway. So please note that tomorrow, and we will be having a session specifically on day of the life of an apprentice. if that's of interest to you. So welcome, Millie and Nana. We will go in order that we have on the screen. So hopefully Millie is there. So good afternoon or good evening, Millie. If you could, can we hear you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you. So if you could
Good.
just briefly introduce yourself.
So I'm Amelia, but everyone calls me Millie, and I am currently a trainee accountant at Canada Life, where I have been in the Solvency UK team for the last year to year and a half, which is to do with financial reporting. And before starting my career in finance, I completed a first class degree in maths, which gave me like a strong foundation to do with problem solving and analysis that I now apply to my current role. And as I continue my ACCA journey, I'm passionate about growing as a professional and obviously obtaining my qualification as well, but also having sort of like a balanced life where I can achieve my work and like professional goals as well as my personal goals. So one of my things is that I love to travel, and ACCA definitely sort of allows you to do that, and my company allows me to do that as well. So it's a little introduction about me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us on the panel. So now over to Nana, who will introduce herself.
Hey guys, my name is Nana. I live in London and I work as a finance business partner. So I work in property and real estate. I went to uni in Leicester and I studied accounting and economics. That was instilled in me because my dad did economics, so he basically like helped me with all my uni work. After that, I worked in the tech sector for a little bit for like 5 years as a senior finance assistant, and then last year I made my way into property. So yeah, my life is pretty much similar to Millie's life. I'm working at the same time. I'm also a finalist, so I think I just literally did an exam this morning, and I have two or three more exams left until I'm finally chartered. But as Millie mentioned as well, I love traveling. That's the like incentive I use to make sure I pass my exam. So before I book an exam, I book a holiday. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I pass so that I can enjoy my holiday. And that's kind of how I balance out my time, because it is a lot like working and studying full time as well. So you need to be able to make sure that, you do treat yourself, you do have some breaks so that, you don't crash out, and you're balanced. Yeah.
Thank you so much, you both. So we've got some questions, and there will be opportunity for Q&A after some of the questions that we've kind of prepared, that we think people joining us would like to hear from. So the first question is, and we'll go in the order that we started with, is what is a misconception that you think people have about working in accountancy and finance?
So I think one of the things that I get told a lot is that accountancy comes across as quite dry and repetitive, and that it's very much number crunching. And especially like what I do, where I work in a regulated industry like insurance, it's actually a much broader role. So you need to understand what the business is, think critically, question what you're doing, question the data. There's a lot of communication between different teams. And a lot of what I do is problem solving. So if there's a difference between numbers, why is that? What's changed? What's going on? And what does it mean for the company? And I think you become someone that people rely on for clarity, not just calculations. And I hear a lot, everyone's like, oh, I wouldn't picture you as an accountant. I'd picture you as like maybe somebody in customer service because you're so chatty and you talk a lot. But it's something that really benefits me in my role. So I think it's I know no single accountant or somebody who's studied ACCA or who's on that journey who is classified as dry or boring. So I think that's one thing that is
Yeah, and I
said a
think you
lot.
talked yeah, I mean, you're very chatty, and I think communication skills is a really, really important skill that people coming into accounting and finance, and also the working world, it's really, really important to have those communication skills. So important. Thank you for that. So what about you? What do you think, Nana, is a misconception that you think people have?
I think a misconception people have about accounting is everybody is basically old. It's not diverse across the board. It's a specific type of people that are working in type of companies. And for example, like you could only work in tax or audit and assurance. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but with accounting, you can either work in industry or you can work in practice. And what that simply means is practice is like your tax, your audit and assurance, your consulting, and industry is basically you working for a company for like in the function. For example, let's say you work for Tottenham Hotspur, that's like a football company, but you do the financing. So I think there's different sides of accounting, and it's not just like one size fits all. Yeah, that's my like
Yeah, thank you so much.
misconception.
Yeah, that's really good. And some people have mentioned about the apprentice session, but we've also got one on Thursday. And we've got actually someone that works in the football industry. And I know Successor School have put it in the chat, but don't worry, all the other sessions, I will reference them in the chat as we go through. So in terms of kind of your roles, what would you say is the favorite part of your role, Millie?
I think in particular in my role, so one thing that I'm involved in is that there's a report that we have to produce every year, and I'm sort of like a central person involved in that. And it really means that I get to sort of see a bigger picture about my company, and I get to see the impact of, or like all the work that I put in. I have to sort of negotiate between different teams, pull everything together, and it all goes into this end result. And I think it's really satisfying when you know that you've put in 2 or 3 months worth of work, and it's like liaising with loads of different teams, a lot of time, a lot of resources. And I think it's really satisfying at the end when you come to that submission point, and that's something that you get to do. Um, and I think also as well, I enjoy collaborating with people. And even though I'm relatively early in my career, there's like my team do trust me to own a task or speak up in meetings, and it's really good in terms of my progression that I can see sort of my progress as time goes on, and as I feel more confident and as more responsibilities put onto me, where like I'm trusted more and valued more as a team member. And I think what I learn as well through my role feeds into my ACCA qualification. So there's things that I learn in my work which sort of benefits me whilst I'm studying to do with the content. So I think those are two things that I really do enjoy about my role.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really good for young people to hear like the level of sort of responsibility that you're given so early on in your career, and the opportunity to kind of develop those key skills that can help you kind of develop your career in the future. Really great. How about yourself, Nana? What would you say is your favorite part in your current role?
I think the favorite part about my role is being like a reliable person. As you guys are aware, we all work with numbers, and we need to report to on numbers to the board, to hire people. So it's really, really important that the information I'm giving, the information I'm producing is useful. And as a finance business partner, I work with so many different people. So I work with people who don't understand finance, they hate numbers, it doesn't make sense. I work with people who are experts in numbers, and I need to be able to make sure that the information I'm communicating, it's user friendly for anyone, and for everybody. So that's like my kind of favorite part of my role, being able to collaborate with different people and just being able to, crunch down on the numbers, explain as to why there's a variance, why there's a difference, why this doesn't make sense, and having people be able to like rely on me and trust in me to make sure that I'm going to be giving them good and useful information to help them make decisions.
And you are kind of that subject matter expert. I think I've seen some things in the chat around AI taking over jobs. And I think that is a bit of a misconception in terms that,
Yeah.
AI might come in and take over some of that kind of manual number crunching. But in
Yeah,
your role, I guess in both of your roles, it's really, really important to still understand the numbers, because you can't be reporting on numbers if you don't understand what
exactly.
it means or if there's an error.
Yeah. AI is
Yeah.
not taking over.
I saw it in the
Our
chat, and I'm
roles for
just
sure.
making sure to, and it probably will come up in a question. So I'll go back to you, Nana, this time. So
Yeah.
what does a typical day look like for you? I know it can be quite different, and people might
Yeah.
think, what do people do all day?
Okay. So a typical day for me would obviously wake up in the morning, go to work. So sometimes I either work from home, but if I'm going to the office, then I'm in the office. I'm speaking to my colleagues and the people I work with. With this type of role, being a finance business partner, you have to be very chatty, you have to be sociable, you need to be likable as well, because you need to be able to explain to different people what's going on in the business. So, you know, you need to make sure if you're kind of like a person, if you're a person, you're a bit standoffish and, you know, you're not very nice, you need to kind of rethink about what type of person do you want to be if people are trusting you with information. So yeah, in the office, chit-chatting, go for lunch, and then the days I'm in the office, then I won't study because I like to take a break and be practical about it. Because imagine waking up at 6:30, you know, your commute is long, you probably finish around 5. By the time you're home, it's probably around 6. You've only got about 3 more hours until you go to bed. So the days I'm in work, I don't study, but the days I'm working from home, then once work finishes at 5, take a bit of a break. Then from like 6 to 7:30, or even early in the morning before work starts, I study. I feel like working and studying for so long now, you have to make sure you're able to balance your time efficiently. Like you can't waste the weekend, you can't waste a minute, because literally every second counts when you're doing this qualification. That's how important it is, and I want to stress that as well. When you're doing your ACCA qualification, it's not something that you can kind of just brush to the side and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this later, I'm going to part. Not to say you can't live your life and party and have fun, but you need to be able to make sure your priorities are in check, like, because this is your future, this is your life, this is what's going to increase your earning potential, this is what's going to make you stand out as a candidate when you're doing an interview, or you know, you're going like, or a recruitment process. The recruiter is going to choose you because you've got that experience, you've got that qualification. So it's something that you kind of need to take very serious.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being so honest about that, because I think it's something, just to, you know, to be very clear, whether you do an apprenticeship or a graduate program, you know, you will be working and kind of studying and learning at the same time. And I think, you know, what Nana pointed out, it's really, really important that you take it serious, and kind of that qualification is that sort of a gold rubber stamp to say, you know, I am ACCA qualified eventually, and, you know, certainly boost that earning potential. And there's, you know, no pain, no gain without pain. So putting in the hours and kind of the study time now is going to really set you up for the future. That's great. How about for you, Millie? What does a typical day look like to you? And is it quite similar or a bit different, or how do you operate?
So for me, it's a little bit different in that the year falls into like busy periods and also quieter periods. So because of the nature of like the reporting cycle, I'll have quarter reporting, which takes up 4 months of the year, and then I will have year end, which takes up another 2 months. So that's 6 months of the year, 6 or 7 months of the year where it's really, really busy and full on, and then the other 5 months are a little bit quieter. So during the reporting periods, the days are like quite structured and fast paced. So there's a lot of like time pulling data, preparing results, like doing reconciliations, comparing changes between periods, and then like making sure that the numbers are correct before they go to be reviewed. And there's like a lot more teamwork, a lot more communication, and during those times it does get quite hard in terms of like juggling the studying element of the ACCA versus also getting the workload, like managing your time and getting everything completed. Whereas in obviously the quieter times, the rhythm's a bit different. It's a lot quieter and sort of more project based. So in that time, I sort of can dedicate more time to like reflecting on the busy period, sort of making sure that I understand everything that I've done, especially if new stuff's been handed over to me. It's sort of like the time to like reflect, make notes. If you don't understand something, go to people before the next quarter starts. And it's sort of like it's a nice balance. It's nice to have those really busy periods, because then afterwards it's sort of like you can just sit back and appreciate it. And I also think as well, it very much depends on the team that you're in. So I've been very lucky to have a really calm and like understanding boss who throughout my studies has been like, regardless of the workload, like your ACCA, your qualification is the absolute priority. so I think also as well, in busier versus quieter times, he's allowed me to have that time to study if I've needed to. But it is hectic, and like Nana said as well, getting up in the morning and doing a couple of hours before work, because at the end of the day, like, you come home and you're absolutely knackered. It's very much like a balancing act between trying to make sure that you're doing the right amount, not leaving it to last minute, and sort of just negotiating your time, really.
Yeah, excellent. And do you have a balance between working from home and in the office, or what's that your situation?
So we're required to come in 2 days a week, which is quite good, and it adds a lot of flexibility as well, especially with studying. So I very much try, and because obviously with my role we have a lot of leeway in terms of like meetings and how we can structure our day. So what I'll try and do is, for the days that I'm in the office, I'll try and use those days to fill with the meetings that I need to have, ask any questions that I need to, because obviously I feel like doing things face to face and like getting answers to certain questions or being shown how to do something is a little bit easier when you're in the office. Obviously it's not impossible when you're at home, because obviously technology and Teams is amazing. But I try and structure it so that on the days that I'm in, I can ask all of those questions, and then on the days that I'm at home, I can actually focus on the work, focus on studying, get a little bit of extra downtime to study, and also just be a bit more chilled and like not be as distracted by people, because obviously when you're in the office as well and you see people, you do want to have a chat and
Yeah.
sort of catch up with people.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's really good to hear how kind of your lived working experience is like. And I think in the early career space for young people, one of the things that we kind of see is when they're quite early on in their careers and training, most people will be expected to be in the office probably a bit more than once you're qualified, because you do need to have that learning. And I think, you know, the face-to-face element is really, really important as you're kind of learning and getting to grips with like the technical side and also building up your soft skills. And then kind of the working from home does also assist, as you said there. So in terms of the next question, we've talked about kind of your day to day, but something that's really, really important in today's world is, and we talk about it very much, and hopefully people joining your teachers or careers advisors talk about this, is kind of the skills element, which is really, really important, more so now with the AI, because, you know, if it's going to be doing some elements of the job, then those soft skills are really, really important. So what skills do you think are the most important to succeed in your role currently? So if I start with you, Nana, because I appreciate Millie, you've just spoken. So what would you say are kind of 2 or 3 key skills that are really important for your role?
I would say the first skill that's really important for my role, it's not a soft skill, but it's just to be yourself. I feel like in the workplace, it's very easy to get like entangled with like business politics and stuff, and some people kind of like pretend to be someone they're not, just to, you know,
Yeah.
be like to look better, or to, I want to be picked. But I feel like in order for you to, you know, be the best, you literally just need to be your authentic self. So whether that's, you know, you're given a task and you know you can't do it. For example, I've had times where I'm given this report and it's like, oh, I need 50 lines of all the variances of this year by 10 a.m. It's not possible. Like, unless I'm AI, I can do it. But if I've got like a tight deadline, it's the year end, I've got an audit, it's not going to be possible. So knowing when I can say, okay, do you know what? I don't think I'm able to do this. However, if you give me an extension, I'll be able to do it. I think just being your authentic self is really going to take you far. I say another skill is your communication skills. Remember, you're going to be working with so many different types of people. You could be working with people younger than you. You could be working with people older than you. And again, everybody's different. So you are going to need to be able to respond and react to different people from all walks of literally the earth. So I think in terms of that as well, like your alignment and your personality and the way you handle things and the way you report things, I think is very, very important. You need to be personable, you need to be approachable. People need to feel comfortable to be able to come up to you and ask you a question. You know, you don't want to be kind of like antisocial, not really communicating with people, not really talking to anybody. I think that kind of puts you in a bad limelight and it doesn't make you look, it's not a good look. So I would say those are the kind of personality. I think I would say, and communication skills. Of course, work experience is good, and doing the job is good, but nowadays it's not just about, are you able to get the job done? Are you a right fit for the company culture? Do you work well with other people? How do you bring ideas together? There's so much more.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad you touched upon the authenticity and bringing yourself. And that's something really, really important that those of you are listening as well at the interview stage, is when you're interviewing with employers, is they really want to see the person that you are. And there's been a lot of talk about AI, and I don't want to dwell too much on it, but I know a lot of young people are using kind of AI to help them with kind of interview and writing your CVs, but it's there to kind of support you, not to be you. And especially in the interview process, employers that I work with, they want to hear from you, the person you are, your authentic self. They don't want to hear a polished version that an AI can do, because realistically at your age, you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know everything, but they're looking for people that can really add value to the organization and have those kind of communication and team working skills and other ones like that. So that's just a little bit for me. But Millie, what skills do you think are the most important for you to succeed in your role?
I think one of the big ones for me is like time management. So to do with actually the qualification and my role, because so juggling both the exams, the studying, the like responsibilities that come with work as well, especially in reporting deadlines. Like for example, next year in March is like one of our busiest times for reporting, and I'll be doing an ACCA exam as well. So making sure to like manage that, stay on top of work, and sort of just have like a set plan. I think it's so important to sort of like make sure that you have a structure in place that you can follow, that isn't overwhelming, is so important. And they say that to achieve stuff, it's so good to rather than say, oh, okay, I'm going to do 8 hours of like studying, or I'm going to do 8 hours of work tomorrow, which seems really overwhelming, to compound it instead, to just be like, okay, I'm just going to do an hour per day. Eventually that hour per day builds up and gets you the result that you want. So apart from the time management, I think also being able to adapt, like with the mention of AI, it's something that we are implementing over the finance part of our company, and we have a big thing called finance modernization, which is how how finance is adapting because of AI. So I think being open to change and be willing to learn is extremely important, because it is going to become a larger part of what we do and how we operate. And I think there's so many amazing things that we can learn, but obviously we have to be open and willing to be able to get the desired result that we want as well. And I think that curiosity as well is so important. Like my boss says to me, always constantly ask questions, even if it's the question seems incredibly silly. You're better off asking and then being able to at least know for the future, rather than to just not ask anything.
Thank you. No, that's really, really great, and kind of echoing exactly what I would be saying in terms of the skills. So I'm glad professionals working in accounting and finance are validating what I say on a day-to-day basis. I think we're going to have time for 2 more questions, and then we will move on, and then we will answer some questions at the Q&A. So if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A tab, because the chat has been going wild and I can't keep up. So it's only going to be from Q&A. So final 2 questions is, what piece of advice would you give perhaps a parent or guardian that's listening? Also, it could be the students listening, around a career in accountancy and finance. So let's start with, let's go back to Nana. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying that's a very good question. I think for me, one type of advice I would give like a parent or career or carer looking into like roles for accounting, I would just do a bit of like background research. For example, let's say I want to study, let's say I'm in college or sixth form and I'm doing or I mean even in secondary school, I'm in year 11 and I want to go into sixth form, and I'm like, okay, I want to go into accounting. I don't know what accounting is. What can I do? I would research what accounting is like and what type of jobs can I possibly do with accounting, what type of careers will accounting lead me to, and does that align with what I want to do? Because when you're young at that age, you kind of don't have a clue as to what you want to do. Like, yeah, the word accounting sounds fancy, but what actually is it? Like, what do accountants do? And what I did when I was younger is I did a bit of research, went on Google, and I was like, okay, how much money do accountants make? What age? What age does it seem like quite reasonable for me to qualify? What type of role, what type of industry can I go into? So I'll say, if you're a parent or you're a carer, speak to your child if they have like a interest in accounting, ask them like what their future plans are. Go on Google, go on YouTube, like utilize these resources, look at people who are successful. Have a look on LinkedIn as well, see people who work in finance and accounting, literally ping them a message and just be like, hey, I'm interested in, studying accounting. Do you mind if we like network, if we talk? How did you get into it? I think those are the kind of things you kind of need to be a bit proactive. You can't be reactive and just wait for someone to kind of give you these opportunities. If you want something, I would believe you should go for it. So yeah, I think
Thank you.
that
No,
pretty much
that's
sums it
great.
up.
And for you, Millie?
Oh, I think I would say to encourage to explore the profession without feeling pressured to have everything figured out. And I think there's so much pressure to know what you want to do because by the age of 16 you have to have your A levels selected. During your A levels you have to know what you want to do at university, and it's a lot of pressure. And I think accountancy is a career where people grow into it, and you don't need to be perfect at maths or know all the answers from day one. And I think what helps most is developing good habits. So being organized, being willing to learn, being open to ask questions. So if you know that your child or whoever has those qualities, the technical side is something that can always be taught. And the profession does offer a huge amount of stability, a lot of opportunities, a lot of growth, and there's a lot of opportunity across every industry. So I think just offering support without pressure or expectations is like the number one.
Yeah, I think all young people feel that pressure to kind of, I need to know what I'm doing with my life. And I mean, I won't reveal my age, but I'm still working things out. So, there's time for everyone. And I think using stuff like these webinars, and I'm going to talk about the other ones, but any sort of research you can do, and kind of being that proactive rather than reactive person that Nana talked about. Now, we will get to have some Q&A. So before we get to some Q&A, the other webinars that we talked about, so this webinar series is a four-parter. So today is part one. So tomorrow we've got a day in the life of an accountant apprentice. Then we've got leaders of tomorrow. So we've got some more senior ACCA members that have finished their exams and have had different pathways that and they someone runs their own business, someone's working in football, and then this time next week we've got an application masterclass with the government finance function who's going to talk through what a typical application looks like with them, some tips, some hints at what to do, but also more importantly what not to do. Now I am going to post in the chat, I know it's already been done, but I'm posting in the chat the links if you would like to sign up to those. So yes, they're in the chat if you are interested in signing up. So what else you can do? So the girls talked about being proactive. Now ACCA has a few resources that you can leverage. So we've got ACCA careers. Now, it says find your next role, but at this stage of your life, it's more about career exploration, role insights, and getting some advice. Now, you can see on here, we advertise over 750,000 vacancies globally. So you could go on there and just have a look at the types of roles. But what it really gives you is the insight into how many roles and what opportunities would be available to someone working in accounting and finance. One of the really, really good thing is there is careers advised resources and also has a role insights tool, so you can go and have a look at the different roles. And we also have the emerging roles with being used with technology. There's also some interesting podcasts that you can listen to and hear from experts about kind of their journey into accounting and sharing their stories. So first things first, ACCA careers. Now, what was mentioned about being proactive, we have a free program which is called ACCA X. It's an online e-learning course. It covers levels 2 and 3, so it's equivalent to GCSE/A level. It's free. It's called ACCAX. You can just Google ACCAX. It's from financial and management accounting. There's around 30 hours of studying required. So there's a suggestion you could do it 5 hours a week over 6 weeks, but it could be something you do in your holidays or in your free time. If you are doing A levels or doing a T level or at college, it could support the learning that you're doing in the classroom. But what's really, really good with something like ACCAX is if you are coming to apply to an apprenticeship or, you know, going to university and then maybe going on to a graduate program or whatever that is, an entry-level role in accounting and finance, doing something like this really proves the point that you are proactive. You're going over and above what other people are doing, and it will come up on your CV. So if your CV is being filtered, a recruiter or an employer will look at, oh, this person has done ACCAX. Let me read their CV or their application a bit more and see kind of, you know, let's see more about them. So it's a really good thing that you can do and you can put on your CV. It is not part of the ACCA qualification. It's just like a free e-learning course that you can do. And as I said, it's free and it's open to everyone, regardless of age. And if you sign up and you don't want to do it, that's fine. Now, if you would like to connect with us, these are our handles on social media. So you can see ACCA is across most social media platforms. And before we come to answering your questions, we would really, really value your feedback to improve. So if you can scan this, or we can put the feedback link into the chat, that would be great, because we really want to see what we could do more of, what we could do less of. And with that in mind, we would like to do we'll do the poll shortly, because we are now going to have just some Q&A with with our panelists and myself. So I'm just looking in. We're only going to take questions from the Q&A tab because the chat, as I said, is quite wild. So I'm going to put some questions to myself and to the panel, and let's see how we go. So there's so many questions here. So let me pick one. Right. Okay. So someone has asked in here, what subjects are the best for one to be an accountant? I'm guessing subjects at school. So we're looking at GCSE, A level, or I mean, if you're doing a T level, chances are you're doing a T level in accounting, which means you're kind of on that pathway. But are there any subjects that you would say would be important? Maybe we'll choose A level subjects. Do any come to your mind? Kind of, I'll take both of you, Nana or Millie, whatever, you can come in whenever.
I think for me, because I always knew I was going into accounting, I did, so for my GCSEs, I did further maths, as you do. And then when I went to sixth form, I did business, economics, and further maths and history. And then when I went to uni, I did accounting and economics. So because I kind of knew the path that I wanted to go into, I kind of just focused more on like accounting and finance. But as you can see, accounting is so widespread, so you don't necessarily need to, you know, do accounting or finance to work in accounting and finance, because I have a friend who did history for her A levels and she's an accountant. But it is kind of good to have that like background knowledge and that experience, because that's going to help you when you're studying, because you're like, oh yeah, I did this when I was younger. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to add, Millie?
I would definitely agree. I don't think there's any subject specifically, because the good thing about accountancy is that it's a career that you can get into from almost any background. There are like certain subjects that do help in terms of like they give you a little bit of financial knowledge, or like they improve your mathematical ability. So like maths, economics, business studies, they help, but it's not like they're not essential. I think you can basically get into accounting any which way you go.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I would say. I think if you're going down the apprenticeship route, and all the requirements depend on the employer, so that's what's really good if you use ACCA careers, or look at what employers are recruiting to see what their entry requirements are. But kind of for apprenticeship, sometimes they do look for an A level in like maths, business, economics, or something like related subject for that. But as I said, with ACCA, there's no wrong pathway. So we do have people that haven't done an accounting and finance degree, and they've done something like we had someone on a panel last year that did sports science, and now he's training to be an accountant, and he's really leveraged those soft skills. So yeah, there's something to bear in mind. I picked out some other questions. So we briefly touched upon that, but I think someone's asked it, so we'll do it again. So I can take this one. So what are the different sectors of accountancy that accountants go into? So maybe talk about your two sectors first, and then I will touch upon some others. So how about you, Nana? You said you work for
Yep, so I work in property, but I've moved into property, but I was working in technology, so you could say a bit of like AI and tech for 5 years, so I have some experience there. And I've always worked in industry, so I'll just repeat that for those that don't know what industry is, but that's just basically you working for any type of business. So you could be working in hospitality, real estate, property, what else, a tech company, and you're just working in that finance section. And then you've got practice, and that's more like your typical accounting. So your audit, your tax services, your consulting, and like risk. So, but I prefer to work in industry and kind of gain knowledge in different types of industries.
and yourself, Millie?
So like I mentioned, I work in a Canadian insurance company, but within my company, there is a tax department, there is an internal audit department, there is a financial reporting department. So, and part of my requirement as a trainee is that I will do a rotation to another team. So I think there's a lot of different avenues that you can go once you've qualified as an accountant, and it obviously depends on what your interests are, where you'd like to go. And I think you learn that as you go through your exams and as you go through your journey. You sort of, some subjects you take to more and some you definitely know aren't for you. But there's a lot of opportunities, and I think it's on a person by person basis. It's just what intrigues you most.
Exactly. There's so much breadth. I mean, so much breadth in the sector. So if you went to our LinkedIn ACCA UK, you would see we had a recent interview with someone working in BA. So that's working in kind of with airlines. You could be working at the NHS. You know, everything that you see around you is touched by finance in some shape or form. Even, you know, people at your school, there'll be a finance function there. So kind of it's really an opportunity as well today to broaden your horizons. Like, you know, we have ACCA members working in all sectors and industries. So someone has put on here, would you advise going to university or an apprenticeship to get into accountancy? So the people on the call today both went to university, and they are going to eventually qualify as chartered certified accountants, which is great. But as we said, there is no wrong pathway. So you could go down the apprenticeship route. And the person said, you know, they understand both get to the same end goal, but I'm not sure what would be best for me. So often when that happens and you're in that situation, I would probably say, if you're not too sure, is you can apply for an apprenticeship, you could apply for university. There's nothing stopping you starting an apprenticeship and deferring for a year and kind of seeing how that goes. And if that doesn't work out for you, you can go to university. I think the message is that there's a pathway for everyone. So you should really do what is best for you, because, you know, you might really want to go and have that university experience. Someone's talked about, you know, if you study accounting and finance, how many exemptions can you get? And currently the ACCA qualification is 13 exams. So there's be 13 exams that you would have to sit. If you did study something like accounting and finance at university, you could miss or skip or be exempt from up to 9 exams. So you would kind of skip some exams, and then you would still have to do at least 4 exams, but that doesn't mean you can qualify quicker, because you do have to have 3 years of work experience. So there's that. Someone also asked, is there a degree apprenticeship? And that's something that is available. So you can look at degree apprenticeships. Another question that's come in, so there is so many questions, and we're going to try and collate them and kind of get them out somehow, is around application process when you applied for your roles. So how did you find your application process? So would one of you like to take that one when you applied?
So I was very much applying everywhere and anywhere. So On LinkedIn, there's like, you can apply for jobs on LinkedIn. So I was just anything relevant, any role that was relevant to, because I obviously wanted an accountancy trainee role. So I just kept applying for everything and anything. And then as I would hear back, obviously I would do more research. I would get more, I would like hear back from certain companies. I would do research into the roles, and then choose which ones I wanted to continue with. There's also a lot of other websites as well that you can apply on. I also like researched the top however many companies and industries that were taking on trainees at the time, looked into each of those. And I think one of the things that's really hard about the application process is you can apply and sometimes you won't hear back, and it's sort of like a little bit of a confidence knocker. But it really is sort of like a numbers game, in that you just have to keep applying, take on the feedback they give you, ask for feedback if you can, and just don't be disheartened, because it is competitive and it's a competitive industry, and to just take any constructive criticism that you can get, and just like also as well with certain companies as well, they do let you apply again, like if you don't get through the first time. So take on board what they've told you and just come back sort of better and more refined.
Yeah, and if at first you don't succeed, try again, because that is the kind of the reality. Someone has put on here, and I can kind of take this on. What are the part-time jobs that I can help to build my career and soft skills? So kind of at a school leaver age, or if you're, at that time where you can get a part-time job, it's really every part-time job, whether that's in hospitality, in retail, or doing something else, is one of the main things is about developing your soft skills and how you can transfer those skills. So anything you can do is really great. One thing that is a misconception as well, not every employer is expecting you to have work experience, because some people, I didn't have work experience. I didn't manage to get work experience. I still managed to get a job. I had transferable skills because I was working in hospitality. So don't feel like if you don't have relevant work experience, you won't get that job. That is, you can always find other things to do, whether that's a part-time job, volunteering, stuff at school, like Duke of Edinburgh. You might be involved in any extracurricular things. I see you've come off mute, Nana. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so when I was like younger, of course, when you finish A levels or GCSEs or whatever, you literally just come out of school. You're not gonna have a 10-year experience and know what this means and all these reports and be able to do all these transactions, etc. So one thing I did, I also did the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and I remember when I was going to an interview, the person asking me, he was like, okay, so you don't really have experience, but tell me about your hobbies and interests. Like, what did you do for Duke of Edinburgh? And I was like, yeah, I went to Duke of Edinburgh. I walked up the hill. I was in West Sussex for like 3 days. I hated it, blah, 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 blah. And I got hired because even though I didn't have experience, but because, my personality shone through and I had hobbies and I had interests, that's what's important. As I said before, it's all well and good you being able to do your job, but like what George says, like, do you have transferable skills? You could volunteer at like your local charity shop. You can be working on the till. You could be working at M&S. You could be stacking shelves. All of this is teaching you how to deal with customer service, interact with people, count, stop. All of these things will kind of help build your experience. So it's not about, it's amazing if you get a work experience at like Deloitte or any of these investment banks. That's sick. That's so good. But however, if we're being realistic in terms of the job market, it is really hard now. So I would say, like, if your school kind of has like development and employment opportunities, message them like, hey, can I shadow this person who kind of works in finance for a day so I can see how, the roles they do, or just go up to like a firm or go up to a shop and be like, hey, are you guys hiring for like an intern? I think those things often more than not they actually work. So yeah, I'll say just let your personality shine through, because it's all well and good being able to do the job, but are you the right fit for this job? And even if you're not, how can you make yourself the right fit? Like, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to be active? Because at that age, you're not going to make, millions and millions of pounds. You need to do a bit of volunteering, a bit of shadowing, kind of really getting like your feet stuck in the basics. And that's how it works with ACCA. Like, you literally, not to say you start at the bottom, but you start at an entry level and then you work your way up. That's how it is. No one goes into this earning £10 million and knowing everything. You literally start from the bottom because you want to make sure the skills you learn at the bottom are literally going to help you when you reach the top.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's really, really important to remember that, you don't go in straight at the top. You work from the foundation and you work up and you build your knowledge and your work experience. I'm really mindful that we're going to be coming to the end of the session really shortly. I would like to do just one more poll into the chat. If we could launch that poll. And as I said, the feedback is on here. I mean, there's been so many questions come up and so much chat, which just shows kind of people are really interested and really keen to kind of find out more. So if we could just launch that poll, please, Mitesh, if we could, that final poll, which is just coming back up, just to see your confidence maybe now on the kind of various different pathways. As I said, we do have other sessions that are coming up this week. But before we close everything out, and I'll let you both have kind of your final words, I just want to say thank you all for joining us. I think there was over 300 people on the call, which is just like, wow. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. Please join us for the other sessions. Obviously, a massive thank you to Millie and Nana, who not only are working, are studying, and got here to kind of share their experience and some of their sort of how they're getting on with the ACCA and working, and obviously success at school for hosting us. So any final words? So there's lots of clapping and hearts, which is really good. And so Millie, any final words from you before we close out?
I think my final advice is just do as much research as possible, and just try and stay positive through the application process. Be curious, ask as many questions as possible, and yeah, stuff like this is really helpful. And just try and research as much as you can about future events like this. And yeah.
Thank you. And for you, Nana?
Yeah, I would say events like this are always amazing because you can literally network. Like, you don't know the person that you're going to meet, literally get you a job at this place. The person you're going to meet, you guys can be studying the same subject and potentially pass your exams together. So I would always say, like, network, ask the right questions, be proactive, don't be lazy and think, oh, well, I'm just going to sign up for this and I'm going to miss this class. I'm going to pass by myself. Like, no, when you're doing this qualification, you're literally embodying the role of an accountant. You need to act professional. You need that step up. You need to increase your earning potential. So you need to really, really want this. So by behaving properly, attending your courses and also balancing your time and not like crashing out and burning out, you will succeed. Nothing is too hard. Yes, the exams are hard, but all things are possible. So just really, having a chit chat with yourself and just saying, what do I want for my future? Where do I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? How do I want to get there? And, strategically planning that's how you're going to be successful, because at the end of the day, it's not a race. I've got some colleagues in their 50s, they've got kids, everyone's all at their different timelines, studying for these exams, and they are quite vigorous. But if you do actually sit down and say, okay, what do I want to do? How am I going to get there? It's going to be let's say a walk in the park, not a piece of cake, because it's not that easy.
No, thank you so much. So the two things from you both: stay curious, be proactive, and obviously from me, from ACCA, make sure to check out ACCA X, free online course. You've got ACCA careers, and if you do at your school or college use Unifrog, please look out for, you can look in careers in finance, and we've got a ACCA course, careers in finance, through the Unifrog platform. So if your school does use Unifrog, you'll be able to sign up for that. If your school doesn't use Unifrog, maybe you could ask them, because you have to be signed up. And with that, we're at time. So thank you all so much for joining you. Have a nice evening. And some of you will be joining for the rest of the week. See you then. Thank you so much. Bye.